Welcome to the Fantasy Football Prophet podcast, hosted by Craig Phillips and Jeff Torrey. Visit us at fantasyfootballprophet.com. And now your hosts, Craig and Jeff.
Welcome everyone to the Fantasy Football Prophet podcast. I'm Craig Phillips, joined as always by Jeff Torrey, and today we keep on going with the previews, the division by division previews. We're up to the NFC North, getting halfway through the previews now. There's some interesting situations in the North, I would say. Maybe more so than other divisions. And the one we're going to start off with is the Chicago Bears, who definitely made some moves in the offseason. So this is an interesting team. First off, they got the quarterback, Mitch Trubisky, again for his second season. Which, could we see the second-year jump, maybe, that we saw from Carson Wentz and we saw from Jared Goff? Maybe? What do you think? Is this going to be one of those later, not even drafted quarterbacks that surprises with all his new weapons? What do you think, Jeff? You like Trubisky? Is there a chance? He was number 2 pick in the draft, so.
No.
You don't like it?
No, I don't dislike him, but I'm not going to be drafting him in any of my leagues by any means. He's one that I'm going to kind of take a look at. Yeah, I absolutely think that he could make a jump because he did a lot of good things. I mean, he was almost 60% in the passing completion. He played 12 games, 7-7, touchdown to interception. That's not great, but at the same time, he was still getting his feet under him, and he really didn't have anyone to throw it to. So, do I think so? Yeah, he could be worthwhile. I wouldn't say stashing yet, but I think he's a waiver wire that he could end up being a good streaming quarterback because of all of the weapons he has now.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We're not going to know on Trubisky, so you're not going to know until the season starts. So to draft him in any kind of situation in a 10 or 12 team league, just standard, is can't do it.
No.
2 QB league, obviously he's going to be drafted. But you just can't. There's too many other options.
Yeah, and think about all of the good quarterbacks that fall so low. Last week when we talked about Roethlisberger, he was ranked like 13th or something on Pro Football. And so he's not even a starter technically. And like that would be insane to think that Trubisky is better than Roethlisberger.
Yeah, true.
I mean, there's a lot of guys down there. And QB, obviously, only starting one in most league types. There's just too many of them. I mean, you have guys like, Stafford, and guys that are still young that are supposed to make the jump. I mean, you have Jameis Winston, Derek Carr, Mariota. I mean, the list goes on. So, am I intrigued? Yes. Mostly because of his wide receiver situation, which we'll get into in a moment.
Yeah, so it's more of a, if it happens, great. Pick him up after the first couple of weeks when you need him, but don't draft him unless you're in a really deep league. But he does have some new receivers to throw the ball to. Main one being Allen Robinson, who is coming off an ACL injury, though. So that's a big question mark. So Allen Robinson, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to think here. He's going to be a wide receiver 2. And he could go either way. It's really hard when players go to new teams anyway to figure out how to rank them. It's even harder when that player's coming off an ACL injury. Coming off an ACL injury and then going to a new team. With a quarterback who hasn't really done it yet. It's an up in the air situation. So you're going to have to draft him with all kinds of question marks. But I think some players I don't like to do that with. I think Allen Robinson can be okay. At wide receiver, I'm okay with taking a risk on him as a number 2 because I think there's wide receiver 1 value or upside here. So there could be a player I take a chance on. I mean, what do you think? What are you thinking about Robinson? I really think I might take a chance on this guy.
Yeah, I think the big mistake. I like the chance. Taking a chance on him is probably the right wording because he is going to go quite high, and you really don't know where his health is at.
Yeah.
My biggest worry, I'd be a little higher on him if he didn't have that giant fall off from 2015 to 2016. Really, the receptions didn't change. He played a full season each time, but he went from 1,400 yards and 14 touchdowns to 900 yards and 6, which is not bad. But at the same time, is that probably a little more realistic? Yes. I mean, people are going to reach and go for 2015, and they're going to be like, this is what he's capable of. This is what I'm paying for. And I could see me losing out on a lot of the bidding wars because there's no possible way I think that he's ever going to reach that, at least next year.
Right now, he's ranked 17th ahead of Stephon Diggs, Des Bryant.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a pretty fair ranking at the moment. And I think that's where you're going to have to get him as a wide receiver too.
Yep.
Which doesn't scare me that much. The health scares me a little more than the production side of it for a wide receiver too.
Yep. I think there's enough upside here that I'm okay with them as a 2. And I feel like there's enough wide receivers around there that you can find somebody later to make up for it. You can get I don't know. There's other players. There's just a lot of guys we've talked about that we're going to talk about in that 30 to 40, 50 range even. That just to throw one out there right now. Calvin Benjamin's a 45th ranked wide receiver who could actually do something. Marquise Goodwin was great. He's 43rd. Will Fuller's 42nd, if he has Watson back. There's all kinds of guys really late that could actually be of value. Yeah. So you can take a chance early. As a 2. Yep.
That kind of scares me too, though, because in that scenario, would you rather take a chance on building up your running back stable and then that you can get wide receiver value later on, or go for the guaranteed guy? Because if you can get 2 guaranteed wide receivers, then fill in the back end.
Let me see here. I'm curious. I'm going to look at overall ranks about where he's. Okay. Right now, let's say he's like the 40th overall player. That would put him, if you base it off the running backs and this who's going below him, Jay Ajayi is actually below him. I would pick Jay Ajayi ahead of him. But the next guy after Jay Ajayi is Alex Collins. I'm picking Allen Robinson over Alex Collins. So that's kind of, he's at that good spot. He's at that spot that we talked about last episode with the running backs where it falls off. He's at that spot in the ranks overall. So he's at that spot where all of a sudden you go from like Jay Ajayi, Alex Collins, Lamar Miller, Deion Lewis, Duke Johnson, Tevin Coleman. That's the running back you'd pick over him. I want Allen Robinson.
Yeah.
Other than Jay Ajayi, I would probably take Jay Ajayi over him. But other than that, I want Allen Robinson over those type of running backs. There's a lot more top potential there with Allen, because Allen Robinson, you could see him having a wide receiver 1 season. You can't see that happening as a running back 1 for Lamar Miller or Duke Johnson or Tevin Coleman, really. So I think I like Allen Robinson. I'm not it's not like, he's going to be number 5 wide receiver this year, but I think he's good value for where he is right now. He can be. He has the potential. The other receivers they picked up Taylor Gabriel. There's not much fantasy value there for me. He's another piece for Mitch Trubisky. That's pretty much it. Then you always have Kevin White. Maybe you have Kevin White if the guy could ever play. He's a top 10 pick in a draft, and he has never been able to stay healthy. So who knows? We don't know what to think. If you want to take a flyer on him and get him in the last round, sure, do it. Go ahead. I'm fine with it. Yeah, well, I don't think he's going to do anything, but I'm fine with it.
Yeah, well, his brother is going to be drafted too, more than likely. He was a wide receiver coming out of West Virginia this year. Yeah. So who knows? Maybe they'll be reunited.
Yeah, Kevin White. I don't know.
Well,
now the big story is Cameron Meredith. By the time this actually airs, we're recording it a couple of days early. It comes out Thursday. This decision has probably already been made. And will the Bears match the Saints offer sheet to Cameron Meredith? So it's hard to talk about it because by the time it comes out, it's going to be known or not. I lean towards them. I think it's a 2-year, $9.6 million deal. The Bears did just, spend a lot of wide receiver with, Robinson there. Even a little bit with Gabriel. I still feel like they could use him, but they didn't seem to value him very much. They could have put a higher round, whatever, tender on him, and they didn't. So I don't know how much they actually truly value this guy. And he's coming off an injury too. So I don't know. We'll talk about that next time when we know what he actually did. So you guys in the future already know what happened, but we don't.
I have to ask you one question about this. It is a little bit huge speculation, but which do you think that he has more value, or Allen Robinson has more value, with or without Cameron Meredith?
I actually think possibly with Cameron Meredith in a way, because I don't think Kevin White's going to be healthy. And Taylor Gabriel is not really like a number 2 for me. I think he needs a legit number 2 outside of him. Kevin White could be that if he's healthy. I just don't see it. So I'd rather have Meredith be there to have Robinson have a legit player out there side of him. If you're the only guy, it's tough. It can be tough. So I don't think Meredith's going to take much away from him. So I'd rather have him there.
Yeah, and I really love Cameron Meredith's upside. I mean, I guess I could love it just as much if he goes to New Orleans, but
yeah,
I mean, he did a lot of good work on a really bad Chicago team last year. I mean, he almost got to 900 yards and 4 touchdowns with Trubisky at behind center. So, there's a whole lot to love, and I don't know. I'm kind of hoping he stays put because I think it does. I think that this would set off a chain reaction where I think it kind of hurts the value of. Well, Trubisky, I'm not drafting anyway, but at the same time, it would hurt him. I think it does hurt Allen Robinson, and I think it hurts Jordan Howard a bit too because I think with a better passing game, he might have a couple more holes where he didn't last year.
Yeah, no, Jordan Howard. That's the other fantasy relevant player here who he's going to be in that conversation for back end running back 1, for first of the running back 2s kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of where right now he's 13th, so he's going to be a running back 2. Running back 2, I love it. I love Jordan Howard as a running back 2. If he's going to be there, you saw the whole Instagram thing with Jordan Howard, taking all the Bears pictures off Instagram. Now he put him back up, though. So there was like a day of speculation that the Bears are trading Jordan Howard. Why?
It's strange.
Yeah, so I think he'll be there. And if he stays about that 13th spot and you get him as your number 2, it's a good pick. That's about, because after Jordan Howard currently, it goes to Christian McCaffrey, who could have definitely increased value now without Jonathan Stewart, but then Derrick Henry, Joe Mixon, Kenyon Drake. So it falls off quickly as proven players. Jordan Howard's proven himself. So if you get him as your number 2, that's a good situation. Jeff, you have him as your number 2, right, in our main league. I think he's your number 2 running back behind Alvin Kamara, right? Who else do you have?
Well, 3. I had Melvin Gordon as well.
Oh, jeez, that's not even fair.
I was loaded that year.
That's not even fair. So, but as number 2 is great. So I think it's good. And then Tariq Cohen, I'm intrigued.
I am too, and I because last year I was a complete hater because I was like, yeah, it's no big deal. It's a flash in the pan, whatever. But yeah. I really do think that he showed enough. He was very, very athletic, and I think he could be very helpful, especially in the passing game, which we know Jordan Howard, he's a good running back, but my God, the guy cannot catch. So Tariq Cohen will absolutely have a ton of opportunity to become that third down back.
Yep, I think he's going to have some kind of value. I don't know how much, and if maybe it just takes more away from Jordan Howard, but there's going to be something there. He's going to have some good weeks. And then tight end, they signed Trey Burton to a pretty good contract. Again, we don't have a clue yet what to expect. And if anybody tells you they do, they don't. They don't know. He just signed a big deal. That doesn't mean much. You're going to be able to get him if you want to take a flyer on him as like a 10 to 15 tight end. So he's not going to cost you much, which I'm actually interested in that. That's the kind of tight end I like. I might get him. I mean, he looked okay for Philly. It's not like he really had that many opportunities. People just remember him throwing a touchdown pass. But he's right now ranked 15th as a tight end, 1 spot ahead of David Njoku, who I might want Njoku ahead of him, but he's 1 spot below Eric Ebron. That's speaking of Eric Ebron.
It's going to be the guy that comes up every episode.
Done with the Bears. We'll move on to the Lions. And the Lions have gotten rid of Eric Ebron. They didn't re-sign him because he's terrible and he can't catch the ball. And he thinks Matthew Stafford's not a good quarterback, which is just wrong. God, I hate Eric Ebron, Jeff.
Yeah, I hate him because we wasted a 10th round pick on him. And then he finally looks like he might develop into something if he can learn how to catch the ball a little bit. But such a freak of nature.
I hate that we spent any time talking about him on our podcast last offseason. Like he wasted our lives by us wasting our energy to talk about him as a potential player who could do something in the NFL when clearly he cannot because he's not good and he's terrible. He
is the classic tight end example of you see him, he has all the potential in the world, and we're always like, well, next year. It takes a few years for tight ends to kind of get it. He just hasn't caught on yet.
No.
I mean, so maybe he's still young. He's still very, very athletic. Could he do something? Yes, but until I actually see the playmaking ability, especially when you're talking about catching the ball, I don't know if he's going to be worth anything as far as fantasy goes in a luckless offense at the moment.
Well, now the Lions have replaced him at tight end with Luke Wilson. Not Owen Wilson's brother, Luke Wilson, just another Luke Wilson, who came from Seattle. Decent tight end.
Yeah, he's a guy.
He's really, he's okay. He's better than Eric Ebron. I mean, he got that going for him. We know that already. We don't even have to really look into that very much. He's better than Eric Ebron. It's very clear. So, again, though, I'm not terribly interested in it fantasy-wise. And he's currently ranked 31st in the rankings at tight end, which means you don't play that guy. I don't expect much of anything, but hey, maybe it'll be a pleasant surprise. Maybe we don't really know. Could be interesting. At quarterback, obviously, Matt Stafford. He's going to be ranked in the 10 to 15 range possibly again. Some people have him higher. He's 9th right now, but he goes he's all the way as high as 6th, as low as 16th. And that's kind of where he's going to fall. And he's going to end up at the end of the year, he's going to be top 10, but that's just because he's going to be solid most of the year. But he hasn't had a lot of huge weeks for you anymore like he used to with Calvin there. But I don't think he's really going to kill you either. He's going to be steady. So he's a good option if you wait on quarterbacks and do the whole draft a quarterback at the last round thing, spend $1 in an auction on a quarterback. Stafford's always a good option for that. So I don't really, but again, maybe this is the big breakout year. There's always a guy.
And last year, I mean, he was a very, very solid quarterback. He almost had 4,500 yards passing, 29 touchdowns with only 10 interceptions. So, I mean, that's kind of what you come to expect from him. Low to mid 4,000 yards passing with, it really all over the place. But you're hoping that he nears 30 touchdowns. The question with me, especially with being Patricia coming in, and now they have LeGarrette Blount, and it seems like they're trying to diversify anything to get that running game going because it was nil. There was none whatsoever last year. If they do get it going, does that take away some, passing opportunities? You could easily make the argument the opposite way, right? You get the passing or the running game going, the passing game will open up.
I don't think enough to matter where he's going to be drafted and what kind. He's still going to be the same type of player, I think, for you either way. Which, yeah, he's going to be fine. He's not going to be, I don't think, top tier fantasy wise, but he's going to be decent and not going to hurt you. Even if the running game picks up, he doesn't get quite as many touchdowns because they won't have to throw the ball every time in the end zone or in the red zone. I think he's still going to be fine. The running backs, though, I mean, they signed LeGarrette Blount, but I don't care about him.
No, I think he's just a needed stopgap in order to get short yardage.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. He's still got Amir Abdullah. He's still got Theo Riddick. They're still not going to be very good. They need to draft a running back. I think that's not in the first round, but we could definitely see them drafting a running back. So this is going to be another one to revisit when we clearly know the running back situation, but I'm not going to recommend drafting any Lions running back at this point. Not going to, I mean, Amir Abdullah has burned us too many times already, thinking maybe he could really do it. So if he does become a, good fantasy option, it's going to have to surprise me. It's going to be a surprise, and I'm going to probably miss out on it. But running back wise is just nothing interesting. Wide receiver wise, Golden Tate, Marvin Jones, both decent options, and I think they're both going to be kind of undervalued. And currently they're ranked 24th of Golden Tate, 25th Marvin Jones. So I think they are being kind of undervalued again. I think that's a good spot for them. You can get them for a decent price. And Marvin Jones, what was he, top 5 last year?
He was 5th. Yeah. I mean, I think that's incredibly undervaluing because what did you say with it? Because
24th and 25th right now.
24th, 25th, and Marvin Jones was 5th, and Golden Tate was 19th.
Yeah. Well, yeah. What is
I mean, and Stafford didn't have some crazy outlandish statistical output, right? He had 29 touchdowns, very, very doable again. I mean, unless you're saying you get the running game going and some of those go there, but even that, I think both of these guys are very safe options. And once again, I think I can't believe that Marvin Jones is going to be overlooked again after after he did this, and I don't know. It's just one of those that I just don't understand. I think Marvin Jones is always going to be an incredibly fruitful guy to draft.
Marvin Jones is a third receiver on your team? I think that's a good pickup.
Oh, that's amazing. Are you kidding me? With an upside, he really could do exactly what he did last year again.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, why not?
There's nothing holding him back. There's nothing. I mean, the coach is different.
Yeah,
but I mean, you're not going to use your number one wide receiver.
They're still going to throw the ball. So the other guy, Kenny Galladay, might we see a second year improvement? Probably. I don't know how much. He's currently ranked 67th. So that's another one where I got to wait and see what he's looking like in preseason. Hear the training camp reports, see how they're using him. And I do think there's a lot of potential there, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to get too crazy about him, but I really do like him. He played 11 games last year, and you saw what he could do. He's a very, lengthy wide receiver that can get down the field, and he kind of does have a different niche than, say, Marvin Jones or Golden Tate. So I think you'd be crazy not to kind of him be on your radar at least.
All right. How about the Green Bay Packers? Aaron Rodgers can be back from injury. Probably going to be my number one number one quarterback again, I believe, ranked. I mean, yeah, he's going to be. There's just no one stepped up enough. It's going to be Rodgers. He's going to be throwing the ball to Devontae Adams and Randall Cobb. It looks like it's probably the number 2. Now without Jordy Nelson there. So Adams is probably going to be a top 10 receiver in most ranks this year. It worries me a bit, but hey, if Rodgers is there, there's no Jordy Nelson. Yeah, right? He has to be. He has to be.
Yeah.
There's no way around it.
No,
he should be that good.
I mean, even last year, there was the talk that he was going to fall off, right? I mean, that was the big thing. It's like, he can't repeat it. Nelson is back, blah, blah, blah. And really, Devontae Adams ended as the 12th wide receiver, and this is for a large chunk of the year, not Aaron Rodgers. You don't even have to say his name, but not Aaron Rodgers was throwing to him. So I think that does just prove that he will be worth the draft pick. I think you will have to pay a top 10 price for him. Hopefully closer to that 10 than anything above it. But I kind of do think he's safe.
I do too. I think right now ranked 9th, which, I think that's okay because this is a 9th receiver is a guy you can wait on and get. You could possibly, there's a chance you could, in a snake draft, there's still a chance you can get 2 running backs and then still get Devontae Adams. It's not completely out of the question that you could pick him up as your number 1 receiver after getting 2 running backs ahead of him. It's not always going to work out. If you're at the beginning of a 3rd round, I think you can pull it off. So that I think is a great strategy. Try to get Devontae Adams there. I think he's gonna be very good. Randall Cobb now. I liked him last year. It didn't quite happen. It looked like it was going to start, he was starting to do something there early on, and then it just, who knows with the Rodgers injury too. But Cobb just didn't. Nothing was really there. He got 66 catches, but only 653 yards and 4 touchdowns. It's basically the same numbers he put together the year before. And so there's not much of a difference from when Rodgers was the quarterback and when he wasn't. But now he should be the number 2. So I think we can get. Okay, I'm not necessarily going to say he can get back to what he did in 2014, where he caught 91 balls, almost 1,300 yards and 12 touchdowns, which is just weird. It's almost crazy to think Randall Cobb actually did that. But maybe more of 2015, where he had about 80 catches, 800 some yards, 6 touchdowns. He can do that again.
Yeah, I agree.
He can definitely do that again. And
he really is kind of an intriguing one because we've seen him. He can do it before. He was in the position. He's actually not that old. It feels like he's been around forever, but he's going to be 28 next year.
Yep.
That for a wide receiver, that's not old. Once again, if Rodgers is healthy, it makes a whole lot of sense. The number 1 and 2 wide receivers on that team have always both been very productive. And I think Adams, is very safe. But when Nelson left, I just think it opened up a door of possibilities for every other wide receiver on this team. So my question is not kind of like, is another wide receiver besides Adams going to be productive? It's more of like which one. And the question is, in my head,
Geronimo.
Yeah, Randall Cobb or Geronimo Allison, which I love Geronimo Allison's upside and I love his name.
I think that might be more of it.
I really do think someone's going to come out, and I feel like a lot of people are going to jump to tight end and be like, Jimmy Graham is the one that's going to do it.
Yeah.
I don't see that. I think he'll be fine, but I don't think he's going to all of a sudden take all the touchdowns Nelson was getting. So if you had a bet on it, do you see do you see Allison as a legit contender for balls, I guess, this year?
I think so, because, I mean, Cobb, he gets injured. He's had a few years not putting it together. So, yeah, there's definitely a possibility Geronimo Allison is going to actually get a shot. And, they got rid of Jordy Nelson. Obviously, they didn't pick up anybody yet. Maybe they'll draft somebody. I doubt it. But Geronimo's he's going to be in that perfect spot of a guy who's played now 2 seasons, going into year 3. Kind of see what he is. He might be a lot better.
I mean, they let Jeff Janis,
Yeah,
Jeff Janis has gone too, which he was always in the conversation.
Which, now both of these, even Randall Cobb, but both Randall Cobb and Geronimo Allison, I think you can get very good value for these guys. Cobb's currently ranked 48th, which that's amazing.
That is money.
He's going to tick up, I think, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
And Geronimo is 91st.
Yeah, man, I'll tell you, I will be at Geronimo Allison. I feel like as long as nothing changes, I feel like he's going to be on a ton of my teams because I feel like it's no risk.
You're going to take a chance at the end of a draft, get him for $1, and why not see if there's something there? I can see Geronimo Allison's name being on our first couple weeks waiver wires easy. I could see him being week 2 waiver wire pickup, one of the top. I can just feel that coming. All he has to do is catch a touchdown.
Yeah. It'll make me laugh because they'll be in the draft, and even if it's like a 5th rounder, they're going to draft a wide receiver, and all of a sudden, right. Everyone's going to start speculating, and it'll be thrown out the window. But I really do. I think there is a lot to. Obviously, there's always a lot to love about wide receivers coming from Green Bay, but I think this year people are going to be sleeping on it much more than they ever have in the past. Even Adams, I think Devontae Adams. People just aren't going to have the same love that they had for Nelson for any of these guys, which is fine. I mean, they shouldn't. Nelson was pretty elite when he was with Aaron Rodgers. But don't sleep on him. I love them all. And it brings me to Jimmy Graham, though, at tight end.
I don't have a lot to say, honestly, about it because it's hard. Jimmy Graham, he's never been quite the same player since the injury. He really hasn't. He's been good, but not amazing. Last year, 57 catches for 520 yards. He catches touchdowns, though, usually 10. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to go out of his way just to throw the ball to Jimmy Graham. Aaron Rodgers is going to throw the ball to who's open. That's pretty much what's going to happen. So, I mean, Jimmy Graham did have a big fall off last year, if you really look at it.
Yeah, yards-wise.
He really did. And, I mean, now he's had 4 seasons where there's not much going on after this. He's been hurt. He's never really missed much time. When he's just not quite, I don't know. He caught some touchdowns. He had 2 huge years in New Orleans. Other than that, he's been good, but he's just not spectacular anymore. I think it's too much of the name yet. He's not worth getting a top 5 tight end to me, honestly. Because at that point, you almost have to pay a little bit more for him, and I don't want to take that chance. He could be very good, yes, but we've thought that about how many tight ends for Green Bay, and he's going to be 32 years old?
Which is fine for tight end.
It's okay yet, but with the injury history he had, I don't know.
Yeah, I think where my head goes, he will be in the top, he'll probably be like 5th or something. He'll be in the top 5 probably. He'll make that. And I think he will be one of the safer options in tight end because it is so shallow. But I mean, really, do you really expect him to do much more than he did last year? Which is, you're right. I mean, he had 520 yards with 10 touchdowns. So even if he regresses a bit and the touchdown goes up in the yardage, in that area is probably about right for fantasy. And the year before that, with 900 yards and 6 touchdowns, so a little bit better, but not too much more. I mean, where do you think he's going to fall in the grand scheme of things when it comes to tight ends at the end of the year when that kind of production? You're probably paying, even money for him. I don't think you're going to.
True. I just don't want to pay for a tight end unless it's Kelsey.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
that's more of where I'm at.
Preaching the choir. I don't think there's a whole lot of tight ends that I would be willing to pay for because I don't think you get too much value. You're getting exactly what you pay for.
I'd rather take Hunter Henry and pay him half the price.
Yeah. I mean, I would obviously.
I think
Hunter Henry is the greatest tight end to ever play in the NFL.
He's ranked 7th. Hunter Henry is.
Yeah, that makes sense. He kind of burns everyone.
But I don't know, Jimmy Graham.
Yeah, I think the big thing is when you go to a new team, especially with Aaron Rodgers, everyone always looks at their best year and they're like, oh, he's definitely. But he had 10 touchdowns. I mean, that is a lot of touchdowns to catch on a team that was playing from behind a lot and just the Wild West throwing.
Yeah.
And he still only got 520 yards. So just keep it into perspective. Don't overpay for this guy.
Yep. And honestly, I have nothing to say about the running backs because that is a complete guess.
No
Montgomery,
idea.
Aaron Jones, Jamal Williams, they've all been good at times. I could see any one of these three being relevant. We just don't know what the Packers' plan is. So you know what? It's not worth my time because it's all a guess. That's a situation we 100% need to see to even have any clue. I will say I did like what I saw from Aaron Jones, probably more than the other two. I mean, Ty Montgomery is what he is. I think that Aaron Jones might be a better running back than all three of them, but Jamal Williams had signs too, so we'll wait and see. How about the last team of the North, the Minnesota Vikings, with their new quarterback, Kirk Cousins, who is going to find himself moving up draft rankings, which I always seem like, they're overrating him again. This time he's 8th, but you know what? Why he finishes there every year? He has, so I don't have his numbers in front of me, but he's always top 10.
He was 7th last year.
Yeah, so that's about where he's probably gonna end up. I don't necessarily believe that the move to the Vikings is going to dramatically increase his value. I think it's just going to be similar, slightly better.
I do think it. Yeah, I do think it increases it.
Just not like it still doesn't put him into that top tier yet. For me, he's in the second. He's clearly in the second tier of players for me.
Yes, I think if you draft Kirk Cousins, I think this year a good finish would be 5th.
He can definitely get there.
Yeah, I don't think there's no issue. I mean, he definitely has what it takes in order to score that many points. He's been there before, I believe, the year before that even. But there are a lot of young quarterbacks that are now starting to produce. So don't go crazy. But at the same time, I mean, that's very, very safe. And I think you always get a discount on him because for some reason he's never a household name.
This year might change that just because of the signing, but we'll see. Wide receivers he'll be throwing to: Adam Thielen, Stephon Diggs. Thielen's currently ranked 11th, so you're not going to be able to get Thielen under the radar anymore. Diggs is 18th. I'm a big Diggs fan. I think this is the year he puts it all together. I am big on Stephon Diggs. I think he's going to be on my team a lot. I'm completely cool with having Stephon Diggs as my wide receiver too. I really expect something from him. He's only 24 years old, going into his 4th year. He's shown a lot of signs that he could be good. Health is what the issue is with Diggs so far. I think he's going to be really good. I'm a huge Diggs fan this year. I honestly would rather have Diggs over Thielen, even though I think Thielen is safer.
You're talking before the money. You just say straight up, you can have one of these. You're going to take Diggs.
Yep.
I'm totally okay with that. I think Thielen is one heck of a wide receiver as well.
He's definitely safer.
Yeah.
He's 100% safer. He's going to have a very good year.
But Diggs is, he just has something about him. Every time he gets the ball, you're just like, how has this guy not been able to string together a full season quite yet?
But, I mean, Thielen's going to be very good, too. There's nothing against Thielen. He's really great. But, okay, right now he's 11th. I know it shouldn't, but it just feels a bit much for me right now. Well, let me try to think. He's one spot ahead of T.Y. Hilton. With Andrew Luck, I think T.Y. Hilton is more valuable than Thielen. I think so. But Thielen's safer. Safe.
And the crazy part is he had a very good year last year, right? Obviously, he was ranked 11th as a wide receiver, and he only had 4 touchdowns.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that you're 11th and you have, you could easily have double-digit touchdowns with that guy, especially with Cousins throwing it to him instead of Case Keenum or whoever the heck was throwing, Bradford, whoever's throwing to him before. I feel like both of these wide receivers are just primed kind of for I don't know if you can really call Thielen a breakout, but I feel like another level up at least.
Yeah, let's see. The players after Thielen again. Let's see if you would take any of these guys ahead of him. T.Y. Hilton, Doug Baldwin, Alshon Jeffrey, Brandon Cooks, Amari Cooper.
T.Y. Hilton I would, as long as Luck
but that might be it.
Yeah, as long as he's healthy, but yeah, that'd be it. And like you said, he's safe. I mean, there's a lot of intrigue. Like we talk about Amari Cooper and everything, but the fact that he can catch 4 touchdowns, that's it, and you could be ranked almost in the top 10 is pretty crazy.
Yeah, I think it's probably where he needs to be.
And really, Stefan Diggs was 18th last year.
Diggs is gonna be great.
Yeah, I mean, he really could. That
Diggs,
offense
man.
is great, and that's also why I think Cousins will, pretty much be the 5th quarterback, if you will. You have Rudolph, which is a very nice tight end to have. Nothing I'm going to go absolutely crazy over, but very, very safe option. And then you have Diggs and Thielen, and then you also should be a very good run game that should support that. It's hard because the Redskins with Terrell Pryor and everything like that last year, I thought it was going to be a similar situation when he finally has a bunch of weapons. And they really struggled, and he still ended up, 7th, what we just talked about?
And it felt like none of those players did anything. I mean, he also has Kyle Rudolph, solid tight end. Kyle Rudolph's going to be in the top 10 of all our rankings at tight end.
Yeah.
He's going to be a very good option. I just never get terribly excited about him. But he's going to be a fine option. He's
going to be he's going to be the unsexy, safe pick of tight ends.
If you wait on tight ends, you get Kyle Rudolph.
He was 6th overall last year in tight ends.
Then a running back, Dalvin Cook's coming back from the injury. Should be really good.
Dalvin Cook is a guy that I'm super high on.
And then you just get Latavius Murray as his handcuff. You kind of need to at that point.
Yeah.
And there's no Jerick McKinnon to take away anything from Dalvin Cook. Murray's not going to take anything away from Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook's going to be able to be very good. And he's going to be probably top 10 running back, I think, in a lot of draft boards. That's where he's 9th right now. He's ahead of LaShawn McCoy right now. He's ahead of Devontae Freeman right now. It's
I would. I mean, I know this was early, but I'm incredibly high on the guy. You watch him last year when he played 4 games. He was averaging 4.8 yards a carry, 354 yards, 2 touchdowns. He looked the part. He looked special.
Yep.
And if he remains healthy, and like you said, with only Latavius Murray behind him, this guy can be a 3-down back, and he can be a vital, kind of focal point for that whole offense.
Yeah, if he picks up where he left off last year, he's going to be really good. And these ACL injuries, more often than not, players come back from them with very few, effects from it. Not all the time. I mean, Jamal Charles never really came back from his, and it does happen, but I think he's going to be fine, and he's going to be very good. But you're going to have to get him as your number 1 running back, which, is that a risk you want to take? Maybe. I don't know. That's an interesting idea. Or you could get him as a number 2. Let's say if you're at the end of a first round with a pick, you could still possibly, if people are getting wide receivers, you somehow are able to get like Melvin Gordon, Leonard Fournette, and then team it with Dalvin Cook at the beginning of the second. I think that's where I want to be in a draft. Just like a 10-team draft. You're like 10th. Let's say you're 10th in a 10-team draft. Antonio Brown, DeAndre Hopkins, and maybe even Odell go in the first round. At least three receivers go in the first, and you're in a 10-team draft. That means 6 running backs go. You could legitimately get Leonard Fournette, Dalvin Cook, Leonard Fournette, Melvin Gordon, Dalvin Cook. That's what I want.
Yeah, I mean, I love all those guys.
End of the first might be where it's at this year.
Yeah, I mean,
get those 2 big running backs.
Yeah, I think you just don't want to be sandwiched in the middle.
God, I hate that. You know what the better idea is? Auction.
Yeah, auction is always the way to go. If you haven't noticed by listening to us yet, auction is the way to go. It's not even close.
We'll definitely talk about that some more.
Do you think, and going back to the Vikings just for a second, do you think that there's any other wide receiver that has some upside that you might be able to pick?
I don't really want to say Laquan Treadwell's name.
Right. I mean, it is, though. It's either
Stacey Coley.
Say what?
Stacey Coley. I like Stacey
Either that
Coley.
and Kendall Wright as well is there.
I put Stacey Coley on my super, super, extremely deep sleepers list I posted on Instagram last week. So there could be something there. If there is, I told you so, right? I actually put him on my list as the number 11 super deep sleeper, which is players that are just so far down there. So I think Stacey Coley could actually have more upside at this point than Laquan Treadwell, because I don't really think there's anything there. He's not putting anything together. I don't really see much from him.
Yeah, it's very, very strange. I never understood it.
Just doesn't seem to be.
First round draft pick, and
But
he just hasn't even really got the opportunity.
If he was able to live up to first round draft pick level, then wow, this team's really.
Yeah, if he was a wide receiver 3 on this team.
But I'm not even expecting it.
Yeah, I don't really either.
So, all right. I think that's going to do it for the NFC North. I'll be back next week with divisions 5 and 6, which are going to be the AFC South, I believe, in the NFC South. So we'll have some interesting stuff to talk about with those divisions. We'll talk to you guys next week.